guys probably took management courses and you talked about business plans. And most probably know or maybe have written business plans. But I look at the business plan in the process of raising money as being different than a management business plan. I look at it as being a means to an end. And the end is to raise the money, okay? And you can't do anything immoral or dishonest with the business plan. You can't lie in the business plan. But you certainly can tailor the business plan to what you researched about the investor. Let's give you an example. You're going in front of somebody from Turkey who's a venture capitalist. Maybe you have a call center that you plan on doing. You put it in Turkey. You don't, because you really don't know. Maybe it'll be Turkey, maybe it'll be India, maybe it'll be China. You don't really know. Tailor it. I used to do small public offerings and worked with a lawyer in Waltham doing it. And we used to go down to New York City, and we'd be visiting with 4 underwriters. And we would have 4 different business plans. Now, were we being dishonest? No, we weren't being dishonest. We pitched it, and also looking, some underwriters like to do $25 million. Some like to do $15 million. And we'll tailor it to the underwriter. We weren't being dishonest because none of us can predict the future. And so if somebody's going to put money in, this underwriter's going to put money in, and they're only going to put $15 million in, we're sure it's not going to show a business plan where we're going to need another $10 million. We're going to show we can do it on $15 million. So research your investor and play on even the individual investor. I mean, to the point where, we'd go down to New York and there would be very Irish and very Jewish underwriters. And we would try to play to that also. I mean, we'd literally bring people who had Irish surnames from the company with us. So, again, we're not trying to do anything dishonest here, but you have to try to raise money. I mean, it's not easy. And it all comes down to just like selling. I'm sure you're taking marketing courses. Before I'm going to buy anything from anyone, no matter how good the value is, I have to like that person. So they have to like you. The investor has to like you. And then they have to like the business, but they have to like you first. The business plan should have an executive summary. I suggest like a 7-page business plan, and you want 1 page of financials, that's all. Because your first visit with a venture capitalist, with an investor, shouldn't be about the financials. It should be about you, and it should be about your product. Now, if there's a follow-on visit, if there's a second or third visit, and we'll talk a little bit about due diligence, they will get into financials. But the financials they want to look at and say, okay, well, how much money does this company really need? When do they think they're going to start selling product? Other than that, it's just it's a necessary evil, the financials. Again, like Dan said, the market analysis, be careful because you're going to have disruptive technology and say that everyone out there is selling these widgets for $100, you're going to be selling for $20. The market's $100 million. Well, you know what? You've just made it a $20 million market if you're successful because everyone's going to come down to your price. And if you're saying you can get 20% of that, it's 20% of a $20 million market, not 20% of a $100 million market.
But I think it's important to add that the rigor, that you put some rigor into the analysis. It really does show. It's a piece of paper that gets read when you're not in the room, and if you've done your homework, if you've done the preparation piece, it will show in that document. It's an important document. I agree that it's the personal relationship ultimately, but that's a piece of evidence about how well you know what you're doing.
Right. Competitive analysis, like Dan said, never say there's no competition, because that just and also with the financials, don't tell them they're conservative. These are conservative. I mean, I hear it so many times, and they just want to cringe because they're not going to believe you anyhow. So, they're never conservative. Paul, you've never, companies have ever made it.
Up, I wiped you out.
You'll be back.
Distribution plan we talked a little bit about. Just be sure that if you say that you're going to be distributing your stuff to Walmart, that somehow you know what it is to try to get into Walmart. And have a secondary story also. Well, if we can't get into Walmart, we're going to, and sell at 10% margins. We're going to sell to specialty shops at 40% margins. So the financials aren't going to change the bottom line's not going to change all that much. So we have, some sort of alternative. Product description, I think if you're doing technology, doing software, even a service, an online demo makes a lot of sense, because then if they are interested, you're not using up all your time. A lot of times you only get an hour and a half with these people. And again, you want your personality to come out, and you want something about the business, the product to come out. You don't really want to be getting into a 45-minute demo. But if you have one FTP site or a website that they can go to, that's great. Team advisory panel, again, I suggest an advisory panel, try to get people. And again, this goes back to the first point. You may want to, depending on who the investor is, have a advisory panel made up of these people, another investor made up of these people.
The best thing an investor can say when they look at the advisories, I suppose it could cut both ways, but I know that person, or I did business with that person. And, it makes a huge difference. Risk comes down, particularly if it's been a good experience. If he goes, oh, see
I think
you
of
later.
this disruption over here is very important, because everybody wants to invest in something new and novel. I had an IT guy tell me back about 15 years ago, they were looking at, I think Cisco sells routers and stuff like that, but the existing technology that they were looking at, he was an IT guy, and they were looking to put in Cisco-like equipment. And it was big boxy equipment, and it was slow, and you had to choose one or two protocols. And all of a sudden, the Cisco salesman comes in. They have this small, fast box that's protocol agnostic, that's like 1/3 the price. And the guy, am I missing something here? And it's just, that's disruptive type of technology. It completely changes everything. And so, if you can show something like that, that's great. Yeah, the financials, again, should be 3 years, very, very condensed. Income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. Show about 5 or 6 assumptions. By assumptions, I mean, accounts receivable collected in 30 days. This assumes $2 million in funding. It assumes 3 locations, things like that. But be very summary level, be very condensed with the assumptions. You want to focus on cash comparables, would just be each year. Again, be conservative, but don't say you're being conservative.
When you get beyond the introduction and you have someone that's interested, I think you'd agree with this. What you have thought through on the financials, even though it's a lot of hypothetical assumptions, I find that investors really test you on those assumptions, and you need to have quick responses to them. It can't be, well, we just sort of made that 20% of sales because we thought that was right. And the interesting thing is, spreadsheets are, you can make a spreadsheet say anything. And so as someone gets closer to making an investment, they will start really scrutinizing the financials.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dan, because the best way of doing this, and I think the only way of doing it, is with I said to include condensed summary level type of financials, but those have to be derived from something that's very detailed, a bottoms-up approach. You have to literally say, well, in month 7 of year 3, this is what it's going to look like. You should be going out in your detail level, and you're not going to give that to an investor unless they ask for it. Right. You need to really get very granular on that, and come up with all the assumptions. And so, because Dan's right, if there is a next step, they're going to ask you for that.